I have started the broadcast. The channel is live. Hello, everyone, and welcome. There's the camera. Welcome to Adventure on So Many Levels. We're going to play some Apocalypse Keys.
Yay!
I am Christiana Ellis, and I am the Keeper of Doors. Our players tonight, Nobilis as John Deere,
Hello.
David Archambault as Pandorum,
What disaster will befall us today?
Paul Weimer as Ningle,
You fortunate mortals are in the presence of Ningle.
Jason Banks as Myron. Is it Myron? Did we settle on
Yeah.
Myron?
Yeah, Myron. Yeah.
Myron.
I think I've lived this life before. Or was it someone else?
And Millie Katie or Mildred. Do you which would you like me to credit you as on the show?
Millie is fine.
Millie.
I usually have been using Mildred because it's easier to distinguish, but once a couple of people start calling me Millie, it all decays. So
All
Millie
right.
works.
Millie Katie then as Lady Dana.
Hi. I haven't come up with a cool
Catchphrase.
thing
Yes.
That
yet,
is
but
okay.
I'll come up with. I'll let it develop.
Yes, no, that it should form organically. Or if you want to put in the work, that also works. Paul used to do a whole rhyming scheme thing.
Yeah,
For-
because that was a
He was
bar.
introduced last because of it.
Yeah.
No one could follow.
So this is the first session, sort of. We did have a session 0 last time we met with these players, where we created this cast of monsters, each of whom is an Omen class monster, capable potentially of destroying the world. And yet they're not yet planning to destroy the world because right now, the time is not right. The stars are not in position. Maybe you're kind of wrestling with the balance of your humanity versus your monstrousness. Also, you're working for a government agency named Division in order to stop all the other monsters from trying to destroy the world. And so that's what we're going to focus on today is, we spent a lot of time last session developing these characters, and I would like us to recap them just a little bit. So we'll just have each of you in turn give sort of just a brief review of your character, who they are, including anything that you might have decided to change since last session, which would be totally fine. And then I think we also want to briefly recap the bonds that you've created, just because those are two-way relationships that might still only live on one sheet, right? So we just want to make sure that the other person remembers their half of whatever that is. So, and then we're going to start talking about Division, this place where you all work. But jumping into that, who would like to start?
I'll start. I am playing John Deere. He is a special Reaper reporting directly to Death herself. My impression of Death is inspired by the Neil Gaiman character. And he's got bonds with, let me get that part of my sheet up here. I was scrolling to it and lost track.
Remember, there are those quick links at the bottom where you can, at the bottom of each of
There
your
it is,
character
yep.
sheets, you can just
Okay,
jump right
yes,
to
I've
different
got-
sections.
I've got one with Lady Dana. She doesn't tell me that she knows I love her because she doesn't want to hurt me. And I have a bond with Pandorum because we met during a reincarnation. And so Pandorum has met Death as well. So it's a friend of a friend situation there.
So yes, assistant to the personification of death, John Deere. Would you all prefer that I just call on you rather than Popcorn? That works fine too.
No, it is fine because Ningle will stride across the stage to introduce himself because he's very much a type A character. I play Ningle. He is the last servitor, herald of a deceased pantheon of gods. Long ago, I summoned armies. I called forth battle, but my pantheon was destroyed, my power broken, my legs turned to this serpent's body, and now I work for Division while I scheme and plan to assault heaven and take my place as a rightful divine entity. I have 3 bonds. The darkness demands me that I will do this one day. I have a bond with Mirren. Mirren was involved in the fall of my pantheon, but in a very strange and unusual way. And I have a relationship with Lady Dana. She's got power that I don't know I can capture, or she doesn't know that she could capture me. I long, she yearns, but it's not quite there. But I am Ningle, and you will listen.
While Ningle is the last of his pantheon, I am playing Pandorum, who is simply the last. He is reborn every time an apocalypse looms, and he has lived many lives before, reliving appearing for apocalypses from the dawn of man. He has bonds with Ningle, who apparently knows that there is someone else who is also reborn in a similar way as me, and keeping that knowledge from me protects me. And Myron, who doesn't really understand what love is, and this is more like a brotherly kind of thing.
One note, we have these marvelous little profiles here. If you're watching us live here on the Twitch or the VOD later, we've got these backdrops for each character where you can see our Hero Forge portraits of what the characters look like. However, if someone were listening in audio only, they wouldn't have access to that. So let's have everyone also just briefly describe what their character looks like.
Pandorum looks the most normal out of all of this group. He looks like a human with some odd scars on his face, and that's about the only thing really notable about his appearance. And he wears a necklace with a box that rattles with one little object left inside of it.
All right.
John, your appearance?
John appears in the comic book as a black silhouette where his clothes and gear are, and a white silhouette where his flesh is. The details are, and in comic book style, people don't have trouble reading his expressions, but he's always just pictured in this silhouette, and the same goes for equipment or vehicles or whatever that he might call up. They're always pure flat black silhouettes.
Right.
Ningle is from the waist up, he's human except for the big feathery wings and copper skin and bright eyes and little horns. From the waist down, he has a serpent's body, but he's human sized. So he definitely cannot go hopping on the bus and everyone not recognize him.
All right, great.
Myron is a dream eater. He's very old and he has consumed many, many people and taken on their memories and their thoughts. Like, so a lot of what he remembers isn't his own memories. Um, he has a bond with John Deere because John has these very pesky dreams from time to time, and they're delicious. Um, and he's old buds with Pandorum, but he just doesn't get it. Like, he doesn't know why this guy just wants to be friends with him. He just doesn't understand what that type of intimacy and love is. He just doesn't get it. And he's very much tempted by the darkness, and even through helping the division, because at some point he'll figure out whether or not these memories are his or he should just consume them all. And he looks like if you put the Thing from John Carpenter's Thing, after it became Wilford Brimley and started to spider all over the place, inside a gelatinous cube. But that's only to his friends inside the division. Mortals see him as probably someone different, someone very important to them. Could be their mother, their father, or just a friendly face that they are okay to talk with.
And I think we established that you can choose to make yourself appear to them in a specific way, but generally it's a passive thing that would be decided by their own subconscious otherwise.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, great. Last but not least.
Dana, so let's back up. Lady Dana once had a groom and she was ready to wed. She was then betrayed by her family, driven to water and death. In the water, the love and pain turned into a hunger for life, and the love she's been forever denied. She looks fairly human, except her hair is, well, probably more acceptable now. That colored hair just is all over the place. It's long, slightly tealish, but very slick and seems to move on its own. Her eyes are like solid watercolor, and but it looks like, oh, those just could be contacts. Um, she is basically a spirit that, well, a monster that wants to love and be loved, but to a disastrous degree. For And she realizes that eating the ones you love is actually a bad thing, but you can't quite help it at times. Um, some of her bonds have already been mentioned, um, but
There's bonds on your sheet that aren't
yeah,
on anybody else's.
yeah, that's what I was about to get to. Pandorum remembers me from, or at least one of Pandorum's incarnations remembers me from before my death and my hunger um, came about. And at the same time, I'm hungering for that little last thing in the box around their neck. And they have to protect it because, well, yeah, that's not something we want me devouring. Mirren and I bring out the worst in each other.
Because people are tasty.
Yeah, people and feelings and connections are tasty. And what the darkness demands of me is basically to create more like me, and that maybe some of the hunger will actually be sated, even if for a moment. And by making others just as bad as me, I'm not the only monster now. But I've been a good girl so far.
Recently. Yeah.
Yeah, recently.
All right. One thing that occurred to me that I don't know that at least I hadn't resolved in my head about Pandorum is you mentioned that you reincarnate when apocalypses loom, may I offer perhaps that when we inevitably in this game find apocalypses looming, are you going to always be reincarnating, or is it more a matter of perhaps by actively involving yourself, you control that as opposed to it happening?
So basically, when Pandorum reincarnates, there's going to be an apocalypse situation that is going to approach, whether or not it happens or it's diverted or delayed.
Okay.
That is up to the actions of.
Well, let me be clear. That's definitely going to happen as we play this game, probably every time we do a mystery.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, like, basically, as long as Pandorum is alive, there is going to be an apocalypse approaching.
Sure. Well, what I mean is the power level that all of you are requires that if a team of monsters at your power level is required to stop it, we are talking about world-ending threats every time you go out.
Oh yeah.
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 Okay.
Basically, only if Pandorum dies would he reincarnate.
I see. Okay. So it is you have reincarnated in past apocalypses when you were killed by them.
Yes.
Okay, I get you. All right then. Okay, so here's the other piece of this larger picture. What's in the background behind all of these monsters is, of course, Division, which stands for Department of Interdimensional Vigilance and International Security, Interdisciplinary Operations Network. Division.
That's actually a less tortured acronym than a lot of them I've seen.
Well, we had this exact conversation last session.
Yeah, oh, right. Okay.
Well, but no, we are in agreement with our past selves. The truth is that Division has not always existed in its present form. However, as long as there have been potential apocalypses, there have been people and sometimes monsters who try to avert it. And so the current existence of Division is kind of the inheritor of that long tradition. And so they have been around in variety of forms over many years, but of course has also in all that time been splintering into different factions, people who think it needs to be handled in different ways. For example, there are, crazily enough, some people who think it's bad to try to enlist actual monsters to help stop other monsters. But Division is not on that particular side because here you are. But we're going to be spending some time in this session talking a little bit about Division and what it's like and who works there and what your routine is like when you're not out saving the world. So we're going to, I think, have this be kind of just a collaborative discussion here where we're going to decide some things about Division, our Division. The first is, where is Division located? Are there many branches or just this one?
You want to do those round robin? Or...
Well, so here, let's present that question first. So how does everyone feel about having the questions be round robin as opposed to everybody collaborating on each question?
Or start with an idea start with a seed from round robin and then develop.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like that.
Well, and as you suggested it, how about you start us off with that first one?
Well, as a big fan of the video game Control, I'm going to say that there's a major city where it's ostensibly headquartered. And in order to make it something that's at least partially accessible to our players, I'm going to say it's New York City.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Men in Black has their headquarters there.
Sure.
You know, it's kind of the classic. But there's a lot of kind of weird people who come and go, so it can't be a particularly busy part. So I'm
Mhm.
going to go with the borough that gets no love at all from any of the major IPs and say that it's on Staten Island.
All right.
Sorry, I'm from Staten Island, folks. If you didn't know.
Well, I was just
Nobody,
thinking.
I mean, Manhattan gets all the love, and people, Brooklyn and Queens kind of get their attention sometimes, but nobody sets things in Staten Island.
Well,
So,
the one exception is the What We Do in the Shadows TV show.
That's the
Okay.
one
The-
exception.
those
not
vampires
exactly a
lived in.
superhero.
Well, I would also say it's not exactly a problematic overlap. It feels like that's the sort of thing that we could imagine happening out on the fringes, even in our
Yeah.
setting. I like that.
I like that a lot too.
and because of the need for various water-based people to be able to come and go, I think it's going to be somewhere on the coast of the island.
Mhm. Or
Um,
sewers, like sewer network.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, but there's access, right?
Mhm.
Like, I do know someone in real life who's since retired, but did work for the sanitation department on Staten Island.
Oh,
was
are we
like
saying we're
advantage.
based in Fresh Kills? Oh God, Fresh Kills was once the world's largest garbage dump. That's that. I mean, now it's a park, but it used to be the world's largest garbage dump.
Well, so a location that we have some folks who know stuff about. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so what about the? Are there many branches or just this one?
I think there's a lot of places you can access it,
Mm-hmm.
but that's,
So-
that's the
One of the things that I might toss in there is that I think that there probably have been, of course, many different groups all over the world and some degree of cooperation, but that there is some level of faction development, meaning you might you might have a base in Eastern Europe that is ostensibly connected to Division, but it's run by different people, and you don't always get this level of cooperation that you might need. Or what do we want it to be like that, or do we want there to be like the board that actually is super in charge of everything, and although there are multiple bases, everyone actually reports to the one central command?
You could kind of do a little bit of both, right? Like you could say that there is a board that kind of overall sees these different factions, but they're all from different places, right? Because like let's say, countries around the world all have different forms of like law enforcement or groups, or their FBI or CIA type thing. So you could have each head of them be a part of the board, but underneath them is a different variant on the division sort of thing. And so they get cooperation, but it's more along the lines of like, oh, we've got to go, give some information with so and so over here. Oh man, last time they had the vampire that ate slugs. Like I don't want to go there.
Yeah. Well, so this game, as we get further into the campaign, absolutely supports having there be multiple factions that you might cooperate with and or compete with and or actively oppose. So it there's lots of room for there to be that kind of stuff.
And we already established that Division's been around for a while, so it makes sense that there would be at least a loose network of Division branches, organizations, spin-offs that all kind of all under this one umbrella that compete and factionalize. I mean, New York City has the real Division, so to speak, but the guys in Eastern Europe certainly have different opinions about who's the real Division.
Well, so maybe there is sort of a central command, but it is not part of that command's style to enforce a standardization of like everyone has to do it the same way. Maybe there's delegated control and some degree of flexibility of letting each local chapter.
Like it only exists to handle interdepartmental matters.
Right. Otherwise, mostly it says, we're going to trust each sort of, local chapter to handle its own business until it actively interferes with another chapter.
Yes, it reminds me of it kind of reminds me of Cabin in the Woods, like the shadowy organization in Cabin in the
Yep.
Woods, and how
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
they had the like, oh, like they lost in Japan, like what happened? They screwed
Oh,
it up. There's all
yeah.
happy frogs.
I think that that's an excellent parallel here, because certainly the those underground folks in Cabin in the Woods are definitely share some DNA with the sort of division that we're talking about here.
Oh, and I could totally see them making bets on if they were going to stop the apocalypse or not.
It's one of those
Oh,
things where it's
Or-
like,
the only thing that is agreed upon and standardized among all the different versions of a division is whatever betting pool they have for a for major instance.
oh yeah, so yeah, they had to institute some sort of a common rules to allow that, because otherwise you were having interference and cheating, and it was getting out of control. I kind of like that. Okay, well, so we've already kind of included some details here, but our next question is, what about division is mundane? Do you want to jump on that one, David?
I think what is mundane is the general office work. Like uh, you go into division's office and it is almost jarringly mundane
Hmm.
until a dimensional portal opens up and a devil steps through in a business suit and says, "I'm here for my the 1 o'clock meeting."
Hmm. I kind of love, too, the idea that there's a lot of paperwork involved with this top secret government institution that is not ever allowed to keep. But see, here's the thing, because it is so important to try to, broadly speaking, keep the secret, the existence of monsters from most of the mundane world. You actually do have to keep track of, like, okay, well, who was there when it happened, and have they been, have they had their memories changed?
Yeah.
Have they
Have they
otherwise
been
been bribed?
rebriefed?
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Rebriefed is a good word.
Yeah, actually, my member of like human member of division idea really fits in with that, because it's like they were at an event, but instead of being brainwashed or whatever we want to happen norm to most humans,
Hmm.
they ended up joining division as their head cook.
Nice.
I mean, that's one way of dealing with people who have seen too much. You just pull them inside the orbit.
Yeah.
And
If they have the mental flexibility.
Yeah, if they
Right.
can handle it, if there's goo not coming out of their ears.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
and I
Great.
imagine they work very like they have a lot of feelers in Hollywood and other movie
Hmm.
creations to be like, let's help keep let's help guide monster movies in such a way that it covers up, gives plausible deniability for events that might have happened.
Yeah, yeah, and so I think it is definitely fun to imagine not only that there are a lot of mundane office work and paperwork and that sort of thing, but of course that also necessitates a large amount of employees who really probably have nothing to do with the actual, like, adventurous or dangerous parts. They're really just like processing the paperwork and liaising and like, oh, did we ever get back to the African chapter about those chupacabras that escaped containment? Like, um, and it also may well be. So here's a question related to that, though, is I would imagine most of Division's employees are humans in a standard sense. However, there are lots of monsters in the world that are not at the same power level that you all are. You are officially called Omen class, which is a reference to the idea that you are theoretically at a power level where you could become a harbinger and end the world. Mm-hmm. But there are lots of people who wouldn't fit the standard definition of human, who probably don't fit into the mundane world terribly well, but maybe they find the opportunity to do some mundane office work, even though they have antlers or something.
Well, I
Yeah,
mean,
ki-
like the head archivist that I created last time.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
I'm thinking like once you get beyond the main doors of Men in Black,
Hmm.
like you get
Ooh.
past
Right.
the human facing side, and then there's a mix of everything.
Hmm.
See because we said this in Staten Island and we were talking about the mundane part. I just have this idea that like, and because I love John Wick, I just have this idea that it's like the voice of Division is actually a siren, and it's like the Warriors, where it's like, all right, Division's finest, this is an update on your new mission, and it's like this, and it's like this, and it's just this siren doing that sultry radio voice to give the information out, and then behind her is just like a sea of people changing those plugs to get the different things going.
We had a good question in the chat saying, so y'all aren't kaiju sized, just humanoid sized monsters. And so while
yet.
while I'm confirming that, it does not rule out the possible future kaiju. In fact, I can practically guarantee that we're going to get kaiju at some point.
And I could foresee like some
Do you want
sort of
kaiju? That's how you get kaiju.
I can foresee some of like actually except maybe for Pandorum, like all of us at some point getting something that happens to make us bigger
Could be.
based on our powers.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
Mirren is a perfect blow
Oh,
up
yeah.
size
Yeah,
opportunity.
Super
Yeah.
cube.
I'm
Well-
not, I'm not thinking about an Akira style final battle or anything.
Of course you are.
No, I would never,
No,
I would
no,
never try to
not at all, not
consume
at
a
all.
city. No.
Well, I mean, that's so absolutely. As we discussed in our session 0, this is a game where all of you are of a sufficient power level that when you need to roll, it is generally less a matter of can you roll high enough to succeed. It's more a matter of finding the sweet spot in the middle between not getting the job done versus completely losing control of your powers and overdoing it. But yeah. Oh, there was one other thing that I was gonna jump in on. Well, you know what? If I think of it again, then I will. Otherwise, I won't. And so, how about Paul? The next question you can jump in is, what about Division is strange? We've certainly mentioned a few things, of course, but
For all that there are normal people mostly who work inside the building, the building's interior itself is somewhat non-Euclidean. You get used to it after a couple of weeks, but every so often, yeah, the route that you meant to take to your boss's office just doesn't exist anymore. And you got to find a new one.
Yeah.
Or you're going
so-
down to get to the top floor. That's
Yeah,
just
okay.
the
Go
basic
down
work.
that hallway, turn Schmertz. Schmertz, you know how to turn Schmertz, right?
Exactly.
someone's put up a little yellow sign on the floor in the hallway, so you can't go that way because the floors are turning into bread again.
Like, yeah, I hate when that happens.
But-
Not even good bread.
And Pandora, goes, sees that sign, gets a big sigh, goes over to where it's strange bread, puts his hand on it, and it just stales into becomes stale and rock hard. Okay, you can come this way now.
Nice. So in any case, that's fun. Oh, one note, just because it was mentioned already earlier, but the video game Control, one of the mysteries that's in the book, one of the pre-written ones, is explicitly inspired by Control. It's even called The Oldest House, I think.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh.
So.
I haven't played Control, so I'd be ignorant to any spoilers on that.
Oh well, yeah, it wouldn't be spoiling the game anyway. It's really just more setting and
like
vibes.
the game spoiling the.
No, it wouldn't. It's more just it's a setting and vibes thing, not a plot thing. But in any case, well, not to mention, as we kind of have briefly touched on last time, one of the interesting things that happens in this game as you go into a given mystery is there is no set plot. Not only is it a play to find out what happens sort of thing, but even when you're trying to solve a mystery, there is no predetermined answer. It will be, the answer to the mystery will be determined by A, which keys you find, and B, what the dice tell you about your theory. And so there is no set plot that could be spoiled. Even the pre-written ones don't say who is the harbinger, because it could be anyone. It could even be an NPC that you make up in the moment because you just needed something to happen. So, but in any case, did we want to talk more about the strangeness, or we want to move on to the next question?
I think we've covered that pretty well.
All right. Well, how about?
Oh, I said, yeah, next question.
Okay. Well, Jason, how about how are the monstrous agents like you treated differently than the human agents? How does this show in division structure?
I would definitely think that none of them are in like board positions. Like there's not going to be a monster like in charge of like the head of division. But I wouldn't be surprised if they all maybe had them in like adjacent roles, right? Like each one has a assistant or maybe like a personal, monstrous person that they assist them in some way. Like even the, as a bodyguard or maybe there's someone who's good at diplomacy, so they have psychic abilities that can help them with that or something of that nature.
Yeah.
And I would also see them in like more like the lower levels of things, like kind of like if you think of like the Flintstones when you see like the octopus like shuffling the mail, like sort of thing.
Doom Patrol definitely leans into that sort of thing. One of the things that I like about that element of it is just very much recognizing the value of monsters and monstrous individuals generally, but also I kind of like the idea that maybe the idea that the board positions are human only is to avoid conflict of interest.
Well, of course, because if you're trying to not have the apocalypse, you can't have the person in charge telling you where to go.
Well, yeah, you just could imagine that any potential monster of sufficient charisma and intelligence and power level to rise to the top, if it were allowed, might be exactly the sort of individual who might be planning to use Division's resources to end the world. I'm
only thinking of Wonder Woman 85. Think of the second Wonder Woman. Pedro Pascal is that CEO.
Yeah, Division is good, but it could be better. Anyway, great. That's fun. Anyone else have thoughts on that one?
There's a persistent rumor that one of the members of the board is in fact a monster, but is not like out as a monster.
Mm-hmm. I would also imagine that there are probably many people who are human but who have been transformed in some way, like or even just magically injured or cursed or something like that in a way that they don't look normal but are human in origin and don't have like large powers or anything.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So Millie, how about the next one? What is your favorite area of Division?
The cafeteria.
Well, yeah, my first part was the cafeteria, but that I
A little too on the nose.
The character I had in mind was the head of commissary, but I also thought of like training grounds, like training / evaluation grounds, kind of like the danger room for
Sure.
X-Men.
The one that came to mind for me is the Hunger Games audition space.
Mm. That it basically, particularly as new monsters are discovered, there has to be an evaluation process, and like like the hero. Oh God, what was the movie? Um, was one with really bad superheroes for the most part. One of them was the bowler.
Oh,
Oh,
Mystery Men.
Mystery
yeah,
Men.
Mystery Men.
Mr. Man,
Yeah,
yeah.
like at some point there's got to be kind of like the audition scene from Mystery Men.
Yeah. Um, sure. And so do we think that this training area, like one of the things about the Danger Room is that it's basically a holodeck, right? Like it can create all of these things to sort of use powers against, right? Do we think that the training grounds in Division has that capability, or is it more of a standard like obstacle? Maybe it's like even a changeable obstacle course, machines or something, but not like holodeck. Or what do we think it is? I mean, it could be anything. It's up to us.
I like the idea of there being like basically different types of training rooms for different types of creatures or different types of powers. And like if a power is really, really dangerous, it's not even a training room where they go, like where people move, but like almost like a magical virtual reality that
Okay.
creates a space where they can train without destroying anything in the real world. But they can learn, oh, this is how like if you can release your power in this way to
I mean, do we think that is? I mean, theoretically, if that capability exists, you could use that for anyone, and it would essentially make it kind of like the Danger Room in that
I
it
mean,
can do anything.
maybe it's a case where it's like it's possible to do it with anyone, but it's actually if you don't have a certain level of power, it's actually kind of dangerous for the person being done. Like a normal human would like have their brain fried if they tried it.
Okay.
So you're saying this danger room has a minimum level of you need a minimum level of capability to use that particular danger room, as opposed to the obstacle course.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Ooh,
Yeah.
we talked about different NPCs and things. Maybe the training facility is actually just like a warehouse that they own, but like it's a person, like they're a monstrous person. Like their ability is to allow us to have this training space where we cannot destroy things. Like
I
they,
like that. That's
yeah, you ever think of oh God, Christiana, I think you'll remember this, the Ez Extends movie.
Yeah, Existence. Yeah.
Yes,
Oh yes.
Mm-hmm.
with Jude Law, where they put the little bio thing on their head and had virtual
Mhm.
reality. Yeah, I think something like that.
Yeah.
And that's why you need
I
a
re-
base level of power to get in there, because it'll fry your brain. Because it's
Right. You have to maybe it's the sort of thing where in order to do that, you sort of have to pass certification at a number of more mundane versions of the training.
Yeah.
Um, and the other aspect of that is, of course, that they have a lot of human agents that still need to be able to do stuff that might be field agents and need to have their own levels of, training, even if it's not training in the use of powers per se.
yeah, like you could probably use that type of power to, like, if you find monster parts, maybe to like, let's read what their last thoughts were. They connect it to it or something. It's like the old gag with Real Monsters, where they used to hook them to the machine and project their scares.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. For those listening in Twitch land, I'm very old, guys.
Wait, didn't we determine that you're still a relative baby?
No, I'm not. I'm
Oh.
not. I'm not the baby. That was...
I know you're not the baby.
He's a teenager.
Right. Pandorum was So no, it was
David's the youngest, but
no. So difference between players and characters.
yeah.
John Deere is the newest of the Omen class monsters. And then I believe it was, I think it was what we had said was that Pandorum, it's complicated because of the reincarnations.
Yeah.
But
I'm old.
well, and the thing and you don't actually even really remember before you were at a lab in you were found at a lab, and
Yeah.
you know you must have existed before that, but you don't really your memories are confused with other ones that you've eaten. Okay. So the last question in this particular list, we've run out of round robin stuff unless we want. I don't know. I suppose I could just take the lead on this one, but it's what area is off limits even to you? And I think, I had a first thought, but I think I'm not going to go with that. My first thought was the detention area is not like you're not allowed to go there other than when you're like in detention, because I imagine that there are absolutely times where a dangerous individual monster is taken alive and they are too dangerous to be allowed to go off and do their thing.
But we can't kill them.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
I think that there is but my first thought was that like you're not allowed to go there unless like obviously you are being forced to go there, but like I don't know that I like that idea, because I can imagine that there would be some level of potential rehabilitation going on, and the idea that they wouldn't let the monsters that are not currently being detained, like why would they prevent them from ever seeing it? So anyway,
Yeah.
so I think instead, yeah, you know what? There's what I'm thinking is that there is a room that is just called on the door auxiliary supply. And no one will talk about what's in there, except that it is a very secure door and you're not allowed in there.
And no one knows who is allowed in there.
Right. Like, I think as far as any of you know, no one actually even goes through that door. But in theory,
Yeah.
the door is there. You pass it sometimes when you're going to the, conference room 23. But it's just says auxiliary supply, and that's, who knows what that is.
Mingle has
kind
a
of thing
private
where
theory. Oh, sorry.
if you're new to Division, and you don't, and you accidentally try and open it, you get in trouble, or is it just like?
I think you would be prevented from opening it.
I mean, like just trying the handle.
No, I mean it would not open, and alarms would go off.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you get turned around, don't realize it's.
Yeah. So when I say it's a very
that-
secure door, I mean it is not merely locked, but also guarded
Heavily
with
warded.
sensors and probably magic. So the point is that they enforce that nobody is allowed there.
And there are times when you're going there, you happen to trip at the wrong time, and you brush against and set off an alarm. It's like, oh no, not this paperwork again.
Well, not only that, but you have to go through a 1-week training course again on why you're not allowed to go places that specifically say that you're not allowed to go there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've got. Did we lose? Oh, there you are. I was going to say we lost your camera there. Okay. So, I think that there are also probably plenty of places that you would not go in any kind of a normal course of events, but it's not so much as that you're specifically prohibited there as much as just kind of like you're not theoretically banned from your boss's office at work, right? It's just you wouldn't really go there unless invited, because that would be complicated. you know, professionally, socially, whatever. But it's different than saying you are not allowed to go there, right? All right.
Right.
So our next section here is we're going to play out a day in Division. And this is, you know, some of these might include some of the NPCs that you've talked about. I might chime in with a couple of the ones that I've started to create. Or actually, maybe do you all want to just kind of go through? So I offered as a homework assignment for everybody to create one employee of Division that your character has some relationship with, positive or negative. So,
I'd like to go through mine.
all right, go ahead.
Uh, the NPC that Pandorum has a relationship with is Juliet Martin. She is a member of the janitorial staff. I'll leave it up to you if if she has a particular rank.
Mm-hmm.
She is middle-aged, wears loose or old-fashioned clothing. She is a history buff with a focus on Bronze Age civilizations and always bugs Pandorum about his past lives, particularly in the Bronze Age, if any can be identified as such. And her general accent is British, and an odd fact is that she is afraid of birds.
Birds. I just shuffle my wings. Birds, you say?
Mm-hmm. All right, cool, great. Who would like to go next?
I would like to.
Si-
Oh, go ahead, Nick. Go ahead.
Oh,
Miller.
since I had mentioned mine already
Mhm.
in passing, Leighton Thomas is the head of the commissary. Um, I'm thinking along the lines of a used to be a professional chef with their own kitchen, up and coming, and then um something happened at the restaurant, and that's how they found out about Division in the first place, is in the aftermath of that.
Mm-hmm.
And um Leighton is very creative and likes to play with different food combinations, and um sort of like Yukihara from Food Wars,
Mm-hmm.
and in particular, like, realize that, like, upon learning about monsters, realize that there's a culinary challenge in feeding humans and monsters, and that some of the stuff that would either disgust or possibly kill a normal human could be like really awesome to a monster.
Or
So
necessary.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, or necessary, kind of like, and like the hey, try this, it's gross,
Mm-hmm.
may actually be someone else's perfect, like, height of culinary
Yeah.
bliss.
I'm just imagining Leighton reading the brief of one of the latest inductees, and is just like, how am I even supposed to make aerosolized borax? Well, I guess I'll have to figure it out.
And since Lady Dana's like part of her whole thing, she's hunger. She likes trying everything, and so she's one of his favorite uh test subjects.
Nice. Nice. Great. Okay. So Paul, you were about to jump in.
I was. No, I turned off my. Oh, here it is. Okay, so the NPC I came up with, I was thinking, well, I need somebody. I want somebody mundane, somebody who shows the relative mundane side of Division. I came up with the head bursar, whose name is Johann Swift. He's originally from West Germany, and he emigrated to the U.S. to work with Division, and he reminisces a lot about life during the end of the Cold War and dealing with spies and other stuff with Ningle, and he basically was spy turned accountant, for lack of a better word. He basically worked in like financial forensics and the back end of stuff, not the James Bond stuff, but like proving that, okay, this is where the Russians are moving money. This is what you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
And Ningle just finds this fascinating because it's as much trying to outwit people and outwit personalities as much as moving money. So since Ningle's all about manipulating people, getting Johan's stories about how he was manipulating all these things back in the day in West Germany, he finds absolutely interesting.
Yeah. Spycraft, huh?
Spycraft, yes.
Nice.
So Ningle
Wonderful
actually also
spycraft.
reads novels and watches spy movies.
That's fun.
He has opinions.
Nice. Okay, cool. So what is their demeanor like? Are they kind of crotchety or
Yeah, they're kind of old, so they're mostly crotchety and like, well, you didn't fill out Form 848-A properly. Do it right.
All right.
They're very much detail oriented.
Nice. Oops. All right. Crotchety. All right. Who else has one?
I just realized that I had to create one because of my division power last time.
Sure. And I mean
then
that.
I need to create another one for this.
Well,
so-
I mean, you can if you want. You're correct that you did already do this as part of your because
No,
you
well,
took
no,
the
I'm-
okay.
I'm fine. I'm just realizing that I need to do it again.
Okay, well, how about you describe the one that you created for your
Okay,
divi-
well,
secret archives?
Yeah, the fellow who was created for the Forbidden Archives is an actual mummy. His name is Tekashepes, and his body slowly degrades as the parts grind against each other when he moves. So he insists that only the absolutely most important issues come to him for education, that his assistants handle everything that doesn't require his personal attention. And so anytime it does come to him, he's pissed. And he's always pissed. The only time he's not pissed is when he's just sitting quietly, contemplating the universe. And if you really piss him off, he'll make you one of his assistants.
Oh no.
I think it's fun, the idea that he's kept on as the head librarian because he really just does know everything.
Absolutely
like
everything,
he's
yes.
just got like an impossibly vast store of knowledge. And the real difficulty is just that he does not want to talk to you or anybody or do anything.
Yeah. So you have to kind of exhaust all other sources
Yeah.
before you go to him, or else he's going to get really mad.
Mhm.
Especially if like you ask him, he's like, Section 4B. If you had gone to the auxiliary index number 7, right down the hall here, past the leopard, you would have found it. You came to me, and now my jaw is 1/10 of a millimeter thinner. Thank you for so much for that.
Yeah, I bet you have to take a class on his body language so that he does not have to repeat himself or make over elaborate gestures
Yes.
before you can talk to him. That's fun.
But he loves to chat with the psychics.
Anybody with
thinking
telepathy, anybody with telepathy is, oh my God, you can't shut him up.
That is that is definitely really funny. Like he's just a total chatty Cathy if you can use telepathy with him.
Well, because he doesn't,
I think that's fun.
Doesn't wear it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I don't have to worry about falling apart because we can talk
I
with our
just
minds.
think at you, yeah.
Cool.
Well, given one of the steps of mummification, where is his brain?
Oh, it's sitting on a jar on his desk.
Okay.
So his canopic jars are on his desk.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, the
that-
important ones anyways, yeah.
Oh my god, can you imagine if like he like say if he imagine if he was like an Egyptian mummy, so like his sarcophagus is in there, he's turned it into his actual desk, like
Hmm.
all of his bar like the jars holding all his organs, he's using them to decorate the room.
So I maybe if you like this, I'll offer that half of his desk is just ridiculously dusty and cobwebby because under all of that are his jars with a sign that says "Do not clean."
That, that sounds like a good idea.
And the sign has got like Phoenician cuneiform and hieroglyphics and Greek and Latin and then English at the bottom.
Right. And you can absolutely
Practically
see
a
like
summer
the line where like when the janitorial staff comes through and like they clean up to this bit.
God, that is reminding me of something that happened in real life. Apparently, there was some cell research going on, and a refrigerator got unplugged because it was turn setting off an alarm, and the set back like millions of dollars of research
Aw.
because
Yep, I remember reading
someone
about that. Yeah.
Oh no,
Yeah.
that just makes me think of the Rick and Morty with the wrong light switch. But let's not get into that.
Yep.
So, Jason, did you come up with a division employee?
Yes, they are. Their name is Gerald Gott, and they are an emotional vampire who is in charge of the mental health department of HR,
Oh no.
and he will not leave Myron alone because all of those memories are a delight. They're like candy. They're like cotton candy. They're just fluffy, empty calories. And he's like, I'm not. No, I don't know. I'm not coming. He's like, but we have a mandatory meeting. I do your eval. You have to come see me.
And definitely a suspicion of like how you're not sure you can trust how much they say. Yes, you do have to according to this form, and it's like, okay, that's fun. Yeah. Um, cool. Okay, so did you have another one, Nobilis, or do you? If you want to think about it some more, that's fine. The thing is, we're probably going to be doing this exercise more than once as we play, as we do stuff in
but okay.
Division.
So every bureaucracy has to have like an office lady, someone who makes sure the coffee is refilled and the supply cabinet has everything that it needs. But the office lady in the division headquarters is this tanned, blonde hunk of a guy whose entire demeanor is is the just like the dumb jock sound, right?
Just
It's
very,
like,
just a broy dude,
Yeah.
right?
yeah, just a California dude.
Nice.
Goes, if it's too bad, we got such lousy like surf here in Staten Island, man, because I'd be out there every day. But as it turns out, he has 3 PhDs.
Wow.
Hmm.
So you're thinking like surfer dude as opposed to like frat boy bro.
Yeah.
Okay.
Laid back California style
He's Dolph
surfer
Lundgren.
dude.
He just
Really,
he's like Dolph
completely
Lundgren.
unflappable. Just like takes everything in stride, and and just
But their
Right.
job is like office manager, like they arrange for the donuts in the
you
break room.
need
and-
catering, then
Yeah.
he's the guy
Okay,
to
cool.
call. And his name is Baron Carlisle.
So Baron like a first name, not like a title.
Yeah, 2 R's.
Okay. Baron Carlisle. Nice.
And he's not like Mr. Carlisle to anybody. He's just like Baron.
All right. Well,
And in fact, some people just call him Barry.
So, in the interest of this exercise, I have also created the character who is not necessarily the person you're going to interact with every day, but as far as Division's whole program of sending Omen class monsters out into the world to do stuff, they have a person who is more or less in charge of that department, right? Not necessarily your primary contact on any given mission, but the person who would oversee those people. And they are not part of the board. They are more like, non-com, I guess, in military speak, right? So in fact, they are actually, they go by Sarge. And you're pretty sure they're former military, but they get pretty brusque when they talk about their past. This is a middle-aged woman, probably in her 60s. Hair is tied up short. She looks wiry and strong. She wears a suit with a tie all the time. Very kind of brusque. She's no nonsense, but also like she doesn't yell. Like it would be really hard to make her angry, but she also just doesn't really engage with silliness, that sort of thing. Also, one notable thing about her is that her left eye has been transformed magically in some way, where it's the instead of the white part, it's black and it's like a green dragon's eye, and it constantly weeps this green fluid down her cheek. So she's constantly carrying around a little like towel handkerchief to dab it up. And I made a little handout of her, which in the way that I had created this layout on our stream, it's not going to be easy to show, but you all should be able to see it in Roll20
cool.
now. So let's see if I can put it somewhere where it will be more.
Does she have the ability to make herself heard even over like the loudest thing? Like, she calls for someone and they will hear it no matter how loud the environment, or they will know someone is calling.
I kind of like that, but I'm going to suggest that it doesn't seem to necessarily be clearly supernatural or magical in any way.
Like when she calls out in a room, like
knows how to project.
It's just
that's
so
what I'm
quiet.
going to say, is that without it being anything like an obvious power or magic or anything like that, she nonetheless has kind of an uncanny ability to command the room. Like, she can be in a room and everyone's having a separate conversation. She's just standing in the corner. But when she's ready to say something, everyone knows that it's time to look over at her and listen. And she does not have to raise her voice.
And it's a force of personality, not a power.
Yeah. And if there were anything supernatural about it, it's subtle enough that it's hard to say. All right. So, in any case, now let's talk about what?
Well, we call her Sarge, and no one calls her sir, or ma'am, or like kind of thing. Like, she works for a living,
right? Well, I think she's pretty clear that although she doesn't like to talk about it, but she would be quick to say, Division is not the military. It's this is not about rank. It's about I'm in charge. And I don't care about the words you use as long as it's preceded by yes.
Yeah, the important part is the yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's talk about we're going to play out a day in Division, and I think it sounds fun to kind of go along in the same style, kind of do it round robin, but we could potentially even, if it seems like we have the right setup for it, we could do it as like a little scene, or just answer it in the abstract, whatever seems appropriate based on the question. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
So let's just go back up to the same order then and start with Nobilis. What is the first thing you do when you wake up?
Check my tablet for messages. It sits on the right on the beer next to me. And make sure that nothing, while I've been out, um, no important messages have come in. So, yeah, pull that out and it's, see what's come up. Um,
You mentioned a beer. What does your room look like?
um, uh, it's a catacomb. It's um, uh, one of the things that people don't understand about catacombs is that it's not a place where bodies are left permanently. So in many places, there'd be a concrete, a stone slab, a bier, B-I-E-R, where a body would be laid out and vermin would come and consume it until there was all those bones. And then later on, you'd come back and take the bones and put them in an ossuary. And then that beer would be for the next person who died. There's some cities in Europe that have brilliant artistic ossuaries where bones are stacked in all these kind of geometric patterns and things like that. Yeah, it's from that particular method of disposing of the dead. Yeah, he doesn't sleep like a normal human.
Here's one more clarifying question that for that is this a real catacomb of some kind, or is it a standard issue crew quarters that has been decorated like a catacomb?
Well,
I mean, I will let you
John
choose
is-
either way.
yeah, John is not so much. He's not as closely connected to Division as a lot are. He's like on loan to Division from Death's bureaucracy. So, any rank that he holds there is nominal. So that's his space within the hierarchy of Death, and he travels to Division when there's business to be done.
So you're almost like a liaison
Yeah,
to
yeah.
Death, capital D.
Yes, yes. I mean, she's way too busy to handle apocalypses, personally most of the time.
Okay. I maybe as a compromise between the two things that I was suggesting, it was a standard crew quarters sort of room, but it has been transformed by Death.
John's
And
presence.
so like you step in there and then all of a sudden it's dank and musty and
Yeah, and there's things skittering in the corners and little red eyes poking at you from the darkness.
right.
And waiting, it's like, okay, well, anytime you want to just keel over and give us a meal, we're ready.
Nice. Okay, fun. So, Pandorum, what is a mundane ritual that you look forward to?
Pandora looks forward to sitting in the cafeteria with a newspaper and a cup of coffee. Because, in his normal life before he joined Division, he was, like one of the past things I talked about was him working in fast food, and it's like you don't get a chance to read a paper and have a cup of coffee when you're working fast food. Basically, never had a chance to do that before, so that's what he looks forward to.
Yeah. Let's talk about this cafeteria a little bit. Do Do we think that this is a special cafeteria for, monstrous agents, or do we think this is is this one of many, or is it just one big one and everyone, if they want to have food at work, this is where you go?
More efficient to have one.
I think, yeah, it can be one, but like in case there's an issue with one of the monstrous agents, there are ways to divide it off,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's known like, if you're one of the messier eating
Oh,
ones,
man.
you stay
Okay.
on this side. If you're
So let me offer, just tagging onto that and tying back to what Jason said about how monstrous agents are treated. I think that there would be maybe a degree of the cool kids table and the nerds table sort of thing, in the sense that there's a set of tables that in theory anyone could go over there, but there is
no-
sort of like,
There's no actual demarcation.
right.
Socially speaking, everybody understands.
Like, is that without it being a rule, generally monsters sit at the monster tables and humans sit at the human tables, and there maybe are exceptions here and there, but that it's largely just kind of a socially enforced thing, as opposed to
one of the things, I mean, the world is the internet is a lot different in the last
Mhm.
few years compared to that have been before. And without getting past PG-13, what about people with like humans that have something of a monstrous orientation?
Mm. Oh, I am quite sure that those people exist.
Yeah. Oh
Yes.
no, we both know that they exist.
No, I mean in division, as we're
Division.
talking about our setting.
Yeah.
No, I don't mean in our real world, of course, in there.
Yeah.
But what I was going, but to tie into what David was saying about there being like, I think that there is in the cafeteria some degree of like containment protocols that can seal off individual tables as needed. But because it tends to be something that only happens in the monster tables, you can see the marks on the floor where it has previously been done. And that is kind of the way that the monster tables are distinguished from the human tables. Without it being a rule, like in theory, it could happen to any table, but
Right.
it tends to only happen at the monster tables. So this was your question, David. Is that
Yeah.
yeah?
I do think there also might be an option for there might be some special chambers for dietary requirements.
Oh, sure.
like,
Uh,
there's a
like-
set,
like-
there's a set of voluntary isolation chambers for.
Well, I
Right.
think there are also probably a lot of monstrous agents that take their meals in their own room, or that sort of thing too.
somewhere
But
Yeah,
but
like
I
if someone needs to like ingest chlorine gas periodically,
right, yeah,
they're not doing that in the cafeteria.
right. Okay, cool. That's fun. One last question on that. What newspaper does Pandorum like? New York Times, New York Post, Wall Street Journal.
That now in advance.
There is basically when you walk into the cafeteria, there's a stack of different newspapers, from different days. Sometimes they can be a stack going back a week, and like Pandorum just grabs whatever's on top and.
Okay, so maybe
it's
it's not even like a subscription thing. Maybe it's more like there's just kind of a general social practice that if you've brought a paper to work and you're done with it, you go and leave it in the cafeteria.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Pandorum doesn't care what it is, just likes the the normalcy of it.
Right.
I'm someone who can do this.
It's a human thing, and it makes me feel yes.
Yeah, and also outside of the monstrous kind of
Sure,
thing.
sure. It's sort of a window into the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet that sometimes you find that those newspaper copies have like notes and in the marginalia and people drawing stuff on the pictures because of course there's probably lots of news stories where Division knows that something else really happened and you're reading the sanitized version in the newspaper.
Yeah.
And there's a
Yeah.
stack. There's a separate stack for the National Enquirer and all the tabloids.
Weekly World News.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
That's very Men in Black, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, very Men in Black, where it's like, yes, that's the real news.
Bat Boy used to work for Division.
And yeah, and Pandorum just Pandorum once picked up one of those and it's like, and it basically read out one of the missions he was on. It's like, nah.
Tell me
not
something
gonna
I
worry
don't
about
know. Fun. Okay, great. So let's see. Next, for Ningle,
Hmm.
why are you still recovering from the last investigation?
Well, our last investigation was of a band of humanoid werewolves. We are causing havoc in northern Iceland. They were trying to open a gate to another plane and cause all sorts of issues. The problem is the leader had a dagger that was envenomed by the Midgard serpent. Now, a scratch on that would kill a human, might kill even a minor monster. From Ningle, it didn't kill him, but his right arm, he can't raise it above his head at the moment. And he's got some paralysis and stiffness. I mean, he's tough enough that wouldn't kill him, but I mean, venom from the Midgard serpent is no laughing matter, and so he's still trying to work off that injury.
I'm just kind of briefly laughing at the idea of a winged horned snake person with an arm and a sling.
Yeah, basically, yes.
I bet getting that sling on him was a
A challenge.
it was an interesting exercise.
There's a telekinetic who works in the med bay.
You need one.
Actually, your training that entry was a teachable moment for newer recruits in the medical area of the Division. It's like, yeah, this is how we treat minor injuries for
An Omen class monster.
of an odd body type.
I have to imagine Ningle's reaction to that has to be pretty like conflicted because on the one hand you are being viewed in a weakened, damaged state, but on the other hand, look at all of these people that have been gathered to behold you
Oh yes,
and care for you
wraps up the
and take
tension,
care of
yes.
you. Yeah. So.
But it's like I believe it's even on my character sheet. Like to seeing me humbled and weakened is kind of like something I want and I don't want at the same time. So it's
Right.
very much feeds into it.
So we had a question in the chat of when is this game set, and I said modern day, more or less. That's kind of my thinking. I would imagine there is a
Yeah.
lot of there's plenty of room for lots of strange and or anachronistic elements, but that essentially we're talking about modern day, like 2020X.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. We could also imagine that it is not quite our world, right? It's
Well, clearly it's got monsters in
Yeah.
it. So.
well, are you saying there aren't really monsters in our real world? Maybe we just don't know about the real Division. Anyway, Lady Dana, there's one human agent who's taken a liking to you. How do you spend time together? And this could be Leighton Thomas, as you mentioned, or it could be someone else.
I'm thinking that there's a human agent from the former, like, whose parents were from the former Soviet Union and such, so because she still loves anything associated with the home country. So the human agent she treats as her gateway to Russian nostalgia.
Mm-hmm.
Sonia.
Huh.
And basically will like Lady Dana will like weekly have tea with her with the samovar and everything. Just to like kind of have that reminiscent experience for her, whereas and Sonia finds all of Lady Dana's stories fascinating.
Mm-hmm. Nice. All right. So, uh, Myron, there is a monstrous agent who has been forcibly retired. Why are you asked to check in on them?
Did you mute yourself?
No,
I was
I was
Just
thinking-
haven't said
thinking.
anything.
Um, hmm. Oh man. Forcibly retired.
Mhm.
Huh.
So the question doesn't say how or why, right? And so that's, free for you to decide. It could, we could imagine that it was. Oh, seems like you maybe have an idea.
Yes, they were they were one of the kind of the aides or the kind of the assistants to one of the upper echelon, but they just kind of got too old, but also they just kept getting spotted. And so this Sasquatch guardian they just said, you got to go. Like they've seen you again. There's a video this time. And so I have to go and make sure that he's not sneaked off to be seen again.
Okay.
Does he live like in the park in the middle of Staten Island, or does he live somewhere else?
Ooh, that's great. Like he lives in a park.
Yeah,
He
it's
doesn't
High
live
Rock
at
Park.
headquarters?
Ooh, or
Up
hmm.
Or you have to
That's
travel up into Central Park.
or maybe that's why I have to go check on him if he's in Central, if he's in Division, because he's supposed to stay there,
Mm-hmm.
but he keeps wandering off.
Mm-hmm.
So like, could you go check and see if Harry is in his room?
Yeah. And you just keep finding the door cracked open with a big giant footprint leading out of it. So here's another part of that question is why do they send you to check on him? I mean, they have lots of other employees that theoretically could do that, but why you?
Because he sees me as the one human who is very kind to him, so he's very much I'm a very approachable to him. Like he's okay with talking to me.
Oh, okay.
Very much Harry and the Hendersons. Go
So-
on, Harry.
D-
No
does-
one wants you here anymore.
so he doesn't does he know that that's not who you really are, you're tricking
Oh
him?
no, absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
All right.
Absolutely not.
Okay, so this list that's in the book has 2 more questions, but I think we'll come up with 3 more questions so that we can go around and do the full circle again. Sound good?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so back up to for John Deere. Something broke down again. Why did they ask you to come in and fix it?
Well, one of the things on my character sheet is that I create machines powered by soul magic. So, um, so there's an engine in Division that he uses the same technology. It's kind of on loan from Death. It's part of um, the containment system for the kind of necrotic wing. So the vampires and the ghouls and the things that are, variously soul sucking types of things, Dracula, middle management, that kind of thing. are held there, and the engines are part of that containment system. They're not like the first line. They're not, everything's got redundant systems,
Hmm.
but but yeah, I've got the formulas and schematics and things on my tablet for them. So rather than fix them, I just dismiss them and resummon them because it's just so much easier that way than trying to figure out what's wrong. It's like just turn it off and turn it on again. That's always the answer.
I imagine there's some degree of consternation amongst the. I was just gonna thinking, I'm thinking of you like a contractor, and they're the FTEs. It's kind of like, doesn't this mean that our containment system is essentially on lease from death? Like, don't you think we should have our own stuff? And then someone else just shrugs. It's like, look, it's working. I don't know.
That, yeah, that's okay. Learning out stuff because you know,
It's part of the interoperation agreement that has me there in the first place.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. All right, cool.
I
So,
mean, the two agencies, the two bureaucracies are pretty, as bureaucracies go, um, pretty tightly meshed.
mhm.
yeah, you know, uh, if divisions work gets out, doesn't get done, then desk bureaucracy is gonna be in
Overwhelmed.
shambles.
So,
Yeah.
so I got a question then, Bills. Is there division agents in death bureaucracy?
Oh yeah. There's liaisons over there too. Um, uh, 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 there's this one poor guy who just wanders up and down the main hall where the waiting room is. Um, it's basically limbo, but it's bureaucratic instead of spiritual. You get assigned a number, you sit down, you wait your turn, and then go on to whatever judgment comes after that. But these days with so many people, it's not just like immediate service. There's a certain waiting period. And so there's this poor guy, a division agent, whose job is just to go up and down the rows to see if any division agents have shown up there
Oh,
without the division knowing about the real world.
right. Yeah. So agents that might have gone missing, and to confirm, oh, no, they died. Here they are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's like, oh, okay. So it's somebody with a really good memory. He's got all the
Hmm.
faces of the people who are missing or out on missions or what have you. He gets a daily briefing on who to keep an eye out for, and then But the thing is, it's a really really big floor,
Yeah.
and so the guy is just trudging up and down, looking people over, and I mean, you occasionally get one of those people who's like, "You looking at me? What are you looking at me for?" And it's a thankless job.
Yeah.
It's
I,
quite frankly scut work that they give to people
Do
who've made trouble.
do uh, um, the ones that go onto that floor? Do they keep the signs of their death? So does that complicate his job?
Um, no, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think that they appear the way they imagine themselves to be, kind
yeah.
of like ghosts.
Yeah. Given the way that you've described the, capital D death in this setting, it seems as though, um, especially people who might have had a traumatic passing would not be asked to keep that present all the time,
No,
right?
yeah, that's
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
it's based on their own self-image.
So I was just thinking about like a junior level employee talking with his manager, and is like, okay, look, nobody enjoys the limbo rotation, but the thing is, if you can stick it out, it's going to look great on your CV when it comes promotion time.
He's like, yeah, and he's like,
And
he's like,
if you happen to come across someone, you know, that is a piece of information that will be very
Mhm.
useful for the organization.
Yeah.
When they say it looks good for promotions, is it actually considered for promotions?
Oh well, no, I mean, I have to imagine, like I think division is certainly a bureaucracy,
Yeah.
but they are actually interested, like in retaining employees and stuff like that, right? And
I
it's
mean,
like,
yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
so
there's a lot of bureaucracies that exist solely to support the bureaucracy.
yeah,
But division is kind of unique in that if the bureaucracy does not function properly, it
yeah.
will cease to exist.
Well, and also I think that
Everything could cease to exist.
thing is-
Exactly.
nobody's going to volunteer to do the limbo job unless they feel like they're going to get something coming out of it. You know, like I feel like it has to be the sort of thing of
Yeah.
like, oh, well, you know, it shows perseverance and patience and attention
And
to
I imagine
detail.
if
Yeah.
if it isn't rewarded as promised, word will get around.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So in any case, for the next question, the last one from the books list, Pandorum, there is an agent in training. Why are you there? Why are you there to help out as a mentor?
Um. Hmm. I think with this, in this case, uh, hmm, agent training and there's a mentor. Hmm. I think it's the specific area they're training for requires requires that they actually be out in the field for at least under a limited supervisory thing.
Mhm.
And one, Pandorum is does not need anything to disguise himself to go out, and two, because because of him being a monster, he is more easily able to identify hidden monsters than and he's helping to teach the agent how to do so,
Sure.
basically.
One additional idea I had is that your time manipulation powers, like if someone was attempting a dangerous maneuver and slipped or something, you might be able to sort of
Yeah,
slow
yeah,
them down enough
I've-
that they could be righted without hurting themselves.
yeah. I've learned that kind of fine control, you know, but
Mhm.
it's something that's not, it's good, but it's not necessarily pleasant
Hmm.
to do because you want to go when
Yeah.
you do time manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
Time does not want to be partially slowed. Time wants to either
Right.
be stopped or go.
Nice. Okay, so I'm gonna come up with one more question for for the remainder here. So for Ningle,
Mm-hmm.
uh, outside of so-called work hours, I think the employees have various different things that they might organize, things like a movie night or a book club and that sort of thing, or a knitting circle, any of those sorts of social activities. What is one of those that Ningle participates in?
I already kind of alluded to it. Ningle organizes the spy movie watching of the month.
Nice.
So every month we get to watch a spy movie or a couple episodes from a spy TV series. He's partial to old school stuff like the Sandbaggers and stuff like that. And so he also has this collection in his room, and he will bring out the DVDs and Blu-rays and set it up in one of the conference rooms, and anyone who wants to come can. And he also will talk to the commissary about snacks and can come and watch some spy stuff and discuss. Well, that's not accurate, and especially when they get to anything with supernatural, then they can just laugh like, "Oh my God, that's what they think werewolves are like?"
Are there any of the videos that or movies that are on VHS?
Yes, because some of them have never come to Blu-ray and DVD or streaming. Yes, so
Oh, I
he's
was
got
about
some very prized VHS things that like he needs to figure out how to copy those into
I,
a better
I'm
format.
also thinking like Laserdisc, Beta.
Oh yeah,
Like
you're right. He's got to have all the technology because he's been around so long. You're absolutely
Mhm.
right.
There's a Super 8 back there somewhere.
So I have to know, when organizing something like a movie night, are there rules about like talking during the movie? Because it sounded like you almost encourage people to be commenting on the movie as it goes.
He usually will figure out a way to put like subtitles or things on so that people can read. But yes, he encourages participation. It's not Rocky Horror, but it's not like be quiet and watch the movie because he's seen all these
Mhm.
multiple times. It's the personal interaction, and remember, he's very much a social sort of being. It's a personal interaction, seeing people who interact with each other and with the screen and with what's happening that really charges him. He wants people to react. He doesn't want people to stand there and just sit there and just watch passively. He wants people to react to stuff and think about stuff and engage with stuff and especially with each other and with him because that's what really jazzes him.
And I bet if someone's like, I haven't seen this, could I watch it by myself before we have the movie night? I bet you'd be, Ningle would be all over letting him do that. As long as
It's,
they return the movie.
the rare stuff the more common stuff that was like he only has the one copy of that one episode on VHS that he won't allow out of his precious little hands. But yes, he wants people engaged with the material. Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's not like, oh, I you know I've never seen this before, so I can't properly engage. And if
No,
it's
we
a
can
common
fix
movie,
that. We can
you
fix
fix
that.
All right. Let's see, Lady Dana.
okay.
Um, who is the division employee that just gets on your nerves? Like you just find them irritating.
So there's a person in the um in accounting
Mm-hmm.
that keeps questioning purchases. And it seems like I'm the only one that they're questioning. They don't seem like their stack of, well, we need a justification for this, this, and this seems to be all about me, which isn't actually true, but
Mm-hmm.
this is Dana's perception. At the I don't she wants to be like part of her hunger also is like she buys things. So it's like the person's trying to get her to cut back on her spending because budgets do exist.
Mm-hmm.
But she's like, no, just get off my back.
So I kind of like the idea that to a degree, Division understands that part of keeping you under control is letting you have some amount of an allowance of just buying things when you want something, but that there's someone whose job it is to try to keep you under a certain number.
Yeah, there's someone who's trying to like keep the budget balanced enough that I'm happy and Division's happy.
But you feel that whenever they attempt to restrict you in any way, that it is unfair personal persecution.
Yes, because the Slavic tendency to think that the world is out to get them is real.
I am imagining this is perhaps Josie from accounting.
Yep.
Okay. Regulating. as persecution. All right. So, Myron. Where in Division do you go when you are feeling like angry or worked up and you need to cool off? And allowable answers could be Division agents surround and pacify you and lock you in your room for a while. I mean, I'm just saying it could be a place that you go on your own, but I'm just saying like there's a full spectrum of possibilities there, right?
Oh, see, I think when he is angry, he goes to see our friend who does not like to talk with his physical mouth, because he Myron does have telepathy.
Mm-hmm.
So he can just go and listen, and it's one of those things where he knows so much and it's just elementary to him that it doesn't evoke like the dreams or the sensation of wanting to consume them. So he's just like, oh, it's peace in here.
I'm also just thinking the irony that your image that you've got here on the stream is somewhat resembling a mummy also.
Indeed.
Oh. So you go and listen to Tekashepa's stories about thousands of years of being a librarian.
Oh, absolutely. It's like listening to a David Attenborough documentary for him. It's like the best.
Very nice. Okay, so we have been taking more time than the first session, suggests, but that's because we're filling out a world, and that's all good stuff. So it's not a problem at all. But so we have now kind of gone through all of the stuff that the book recommends doing before introducing the mystery. And so what we can do is we can either do a brief just introduction of the mystery and then have a shorter session tonight, or if you like, we can go ahead and proceed on into it. What do you think?
Okay to proceed.
Well, let's just see what happens.
Yeah. Okay.
Play to see what happens.
All right. Well, there are a number of different mysteries in the book. And so, although I imagine that as our campaign continues, some of them will become either, homebrew or adapted from things that we have developed as part of our campaign. But I am going to use one of the pre-published ones to begin with, if I can find the page, because I'm using the actual physical book as I'm flipping through, and the virtual background doesn't like it, so. But, so here, so I think, so here's a question for y'all to discuss while I look up the page. What does it look like? So when each of you is notified that you're being tapped for a new investigation mission, what does it look like for each of you when you get that news, the direction to report to a room for briefing?
John, it comes up on his tablet. It's a message, SMS style. It's got a little tweedle sound that comes with it when it arrives, and it's routed off the desk of Death, and says, "John, dear, go handle this, please." And then the rest of the message is forwarded below that, and he goes to the rendezvous point.
Pandorum? Pandorum is probably, in cafeteria, coffee, paper, and basically, he's reading, realizes there's someone close by, drops the corner, sees mission? Okay. Folds up paper, finishes coffee, and then goes out.
Ningle has an old style, almost like bat phone in his rooms, and they've figured out the tech to make that ring when Ningle needs a mission, even from a cell phone that says like that phone will ring, and so he'll pick it up. They'll say that you're needed, and almost Avenger style, and then he will go to the mission briefing.
Myron, because he thinks it's funny, has a pager. And so it's just this big bulky thing on his hip that just like bleeps at him periodically, to report in
Does Myron have a hip?
when he wants to.
When he wants to.
When,
I
when
mean,
he
he's
doesn't
got
have a
several
hip
of them. Some
Yeah,
of them are in strange
Some
places.
of us don't really love hips,
Yeah.
Myron. We can't use pagers.
He can wear it as a wristband too
Ningle's got
sometimes.
snake hips.
Those- Look at the way they move. They don't lie.
I think Lady Dana has a bracelet that she was given that will start vibrating. And if she ignores it, it turns into an electric shock.
Okay.
Wow,
Is this a piece of tech as opposed to something magical? Because
I think
Division
it's-
has access to both.
Yeah, I think it's magical actually.
Okay.
Sometimes if she's like feeling bratty, she'll try to ignore it, and that's when a shock comes through. And it's like,
At the risk, so this is your idea, so I'll definitely allow you to keep the shock if you prefer. But what I was gonna suggest is, as a magical bracelet, maybe what it does is if you ignore it, it gets smaller, it gradually gets tighter on your wrist. If you would rather it be shock, that's up to you. It was another idea.
yeah, I think I like the shock more
Okay.
because it's like, she's only gotten like 2 shocks out of it before she starts heading away. She doesn't know if there's anything further than that.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, I think you are all reporting to one of the many sort of conference rooms that is used for this purpose. It is interior is pretty standard as an office conference room, despite the fact that it is in one of this very strange kind of underground bunker within this non-Euclidean office building. But other than the big table and chairs around it, and I think a standard water cooler in there with the little paper cones.
oh boy.
There is also in one corner kind of an old end table with an ancient dot matrix printer plugged into it. And although the printer is plugged into the wall, it is not apparently connected to anything else. But as you all report into there, you are each aware as you enter the room that a familiar little sort of vibration ping sort of sounds from a thing above the door that you recognize as like it knows that you are there. Like I think you have all come to peace with the idea that they track you as you move around the building. But as you each move in there, here's a question for the group. This is not the first mission for any of you. And many of you have known each other for a while. But is this the first mission with this group of 5?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. So you kind of all know each other from around.
Mm-hmm.
And you've
And
each...
some of us have worked with each other at one point in
Yeah.
time.
But this specific combination is new.
Yeah.
Okay. So you are all then familiar with the process, which is that once you are all in the room and you allow the door to close, it clicks with a lock, which you have been told is so that people who are not supposed to be briefed on the mission don't come in and hear it.
Mhm.
But you are also locked in. It's just a fact that that's also true. It is locked from both directions. And then a shutter goes down over the window of the room, and this dot matrix printer, again, despite only being connected to the power outlet, starts going printing out. And the message that it prints is as follows: Omen class monsters. A rogue interdimensional spatial entity has attached itself to Division HQ. Designated the Parasitic Library, the entity has begun siphoning off valuable intel from the archives, leaving voids in Division's key records relating to already contained Doors of the Apocalypse. Harbinger-class monster involvement is suspected behind this security breach. Should whoever brought the library to Division recover the siphoned information from within the library, they will be armed with the knowledge needed to unlock those doors. Find out who or what led the library here and dislodge it from Division before these apocalypses have a chance to be unleashed and the Harbinger claims ascension. And I believe, I actually didn't check this up front, but let me see if we've got a mystery map for these, but let me see if, is there a specific one for this adventure? No, not, so I think we're using, I don't remember if the module I don't think it has different pages for the different adventures. So what we're going to use is this mystery map. Let me put your players on it. And, see, this is where in my layout I should have gone ahead and created both versions of the layout where we're big on there, and also the ones where we are we can see the screen more. So let me give you. I will not type the whole thing out right now, but before next time I'll give you the printout in text for this adventure. But I can also refresh your memory about any of those details because you have a paper printout with everything I just read on it.
Okay. Documents being John Deere's stock and trade, he'll take possession of that.
Mm-hmm. All right, and let me grab a 4-tick clock because that is the complexity of this this mystery. So let me copy that and put that on the Doomsday map. The Doomsday clock. So it is actually technically starting as at 0. But it's now present even though it's invisible. And then I think so. And then what we're going to do is the different. Okay. I think I didn't prepare the right things for this. Okay. Here, there's 4 facets of this mystery. And if someone wants to, on this map here, let's get rid of this. Oops. I didn't get this part of it as prepared as I thought I was going to. There we go. Moving the little instruction there. So the way that this mystery map works, as we look at it, and apologies to folks watching this stream. Let's see. You know what? I can adjust this on the fly here. There's a number of different pieces of how this all works, and we're gonna move everyone over. So the Doomsday clock the name is fairly straightforward, right? And the gist. Sorry, I'm doing multiple things at once. The doomsday clock is going to tick as things develop, and your goal is to solve the mystery before the doomsday clock fills up, right? Because it represents the harbinger's attempt to seize the control of the door of power and ascend to become a harbinger to end the world. And obviously you are trying to prevent that. Because, because we didn't really talk very much about the way that the mystery works in this game. So this is the time to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are 4 facets of this mystery. So if you see under facets here on our mystery map, there's 4 little bullets. And so if someone would like with the text tool to add these by those bullets, the 4 facets are the harbinger, the door of power, the identity of who brought the library to division, and the secrets locked within the library. And so these are 4 crucial components of the mystery that needs to be solved. And what's going to happen is over the course of the investigation, you are periodically going to use the move Grasp Keys. And generally that is the move that is used whenever what you are doing is just generally investigating and trying to gain information about the mystery, right? And so if, for example, you were trying to sneak by a guard to get in somewhere, that would not be Grasp Keys. But if you were trying to probe his mind about what he might know about the mystery, that might be Grasp Keys. You follow me?
Okay. Okay.
And so anytime, all right. So yeah. So do we have all of the facets?
think
The facets are recorded. Yeah.
Okay. So I saw the placement of the slow down card.
Oh, sorry.
So
I'm trying to get out of there because I couldn't see what was being written.
Oh, okay. Okay. So yeah. So the basic move, other than using your other moves for various types of threats, the mystery moves are Grasp Keys and Unlock Doom's Door. Grasp Keys is, as I just mentioned, it is when you are trying to gather information about the mystery in any sort of circumstance. It can involve questioning somebody. It can involve using your powers in some way. It can even just involve looking around the room and trying to figure out what happened. And then there are also some of the other moves that might say, as one of the options, that you can gain a key. What a key will be is a number of different things. Like I have in this pre-published mystery, I have a long list of things that might be different possible keys. So when you grasp keys, if you get one per the move, I will describe a thing that is essentially a clue that is tied into the mystery in some way, and you will add it to this list of uncovered keys, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so then, once you have a number of keys, at some point you will want to try to unlock Doom's Door, which is a different move. And the way that move works is anytime that you all feel that you're ready to attempt it, you will collectively, as a group, you will try to figure out, based on the keys that you have uncovered, what is the answer to the mystery, including those 4 facets. Who is the harbinger? What is the door of power? And the door of power could be anything. It could be a literal door. It could be just anything that represents like a ritual that you have to do, and once you do it, you have ascend. Or it could be a music box that if it is allowed to finish playing its song. It could be anything, right? But the idea is something has to happen, and then the harbinger will gain tremendous power and might end the world, right? So the things that your explanation needs to cover are these 4 facets. And so every time you connect one of the keys to that, like if one of your keys is related to a certain person, you might draw a line from that key right through where the doomsday clock is to the who is the harbinger bullet.
Okay.
And every key needs to connect to at least one facet. Or, and I should say, every key needs to connect to one facet. And you
Okay.
need at least one key to connect to each facet, right? And so
Okay.
once every key has been connected to a facet, and all facets have at least one key, then you do the roll for Unlock Doom's Door. And the way that roll works is you don't add darkness tokens to it. It is the number of keys you have minus the complexity of the mystery, which in this case is 4. So that means that if you have 4 keys on a complexity 4 mystery, then you are doing a straight roll, right? And just like every other roll, you're shooting for that 8 to 10. And so generally speaking, to maximize your odds, you probably want somewhere in the neighborhood of 2
6 or
more
7.
keys than
Yeah.
than the 4, right? So yeah, exactly. And so, but you can do it at any time. And so, for example, if the doomsday clock has advanced far enough, you might decide that you want to go faster, even, you want to give it a shot, even if you don't have so many keys, right? And the thing is, you always could, it's because it's based on a roll. Essentially, when you do the Unlock Doom's Door move, if you get 7 or below and it's a miss, that means your theory was wrong in some way. And you have to
Okay.
kind of continue investigating until you have a new theory. But there's always going to be a consequence to that, because if you guessed wrong, we imagine that you took time following up on that and it turned out to be wrong. And so the doomsday clock might tick again. Something else might happen. There's going to be a cost to getting it wrong.
Right.
If you get 8 to 10, that means that you have figured out the right answer. Your explanation was correct, and you arrived at the door of power before it is opened, and you have a chance to stop it from being opened altogether. And it's basically the best case scenario there. You might still have to confront the harbinger who was trying to open it, but they have not already opened it. However, if you get an 11 plus, that means you were right, but you arrived just in time for them to have already opened it. And so now you have to confront them with their new power. But they haven't had time to do anything else. They are newly empowered, but that's all that's happened, because you arrived just after it's opened. If you let the doomsday clock tick all the way full, that means you are not in position to stop them immediately when they open it, and they get a chance to do a lot more damage.
Okay.
So, does that make sense? Does anyone have any questions? I know it's
Hi.
complicated. Some of it will make sense more as we do it, but that's
Right.
the basic idea.
Yeah, that's good.
All right. So, you are given a little bit more information. That first message that I read you, it does also include that your contact is someone named Marcus Finch, Assistant Archivist. And so under contact, you can add that person. And under quick facts, the complexity is, well, so I think I'll give folks time to add that stuff. Yeah, so the pronouns are he, they. And your impressions, you will add yourself. That's not something you're briefed on. So, like, when, we'll discuss that more in just a moment. But so, over under quick facts, complexity is 4, as I mentioned. The time and place is division headquarters. And time is, now. And then the content warnings, there are some for each of these prepared ones. And The one for this mystery is memory loss, but it is, like we can discuss as a group if we feel like we always want to make sure we put that on the mystery map or not. Okay, and so Marcus Finch, one of you has worked with Marcus Finch before. Why? And so, who do we think that is?
I feel like that's John Deere because he
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
worked with the library before.
That does make sense.
That makes sense.
Mhm.
One
Yeah.
of the first people I met when I came here.
Yeah. So, why did the two of you part on less than polite terms?
Because I mean, it's one of the things on my sheet is that I have got copies of some of the books from the Forbidden Archives.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he's not happy that I took those copies. They're not supposed to be out of his control.
Mm-hmm. So was it kind of a hey, you're not supposed to do that, and you're kind of like, are you going to stop me?
Yeah, take it up with my boss.
Yeah. And then why do you? It says, why do you regret the rift that grew between you, and why do you suspect they regret it too?
Why do I regret it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's introduced friction into every time I come to the archives. He's if I make a request or otherwise, try to interact with the library staff, he makes sure he's the one to be there so that he can make the maximum amount of trouble for me. But I think he regrets it because it takes him away from things he actually likes doing. He doesn't like putting sand in my gears. He feels that he ought to, and so there's a certain amount of subconscious understanding that maybe he should just get over it, but he feels a certain sense of duty to do it anyways, and so there's an internal conflict to go along with the external one.
Okay. Another question for someone to take on is, this is not Division's first encounter with the parasitic library. It was once used to secure something incredibly dangerous with its siphonivore nature, conveniently erasing all records of the mission. One of you was involved in that mission. Why are you the only one from that ill-fated team able to recall scant fragments about the catastrophe that happened?
Yeah, it's you.
Yeah, Marin.
Yeah.
This is yours.
Yeah. So, see, I was freshly new to this thing, and I kind of hadn't got a handle on high emotions and all these things. So I kind of maybe sort of ate part of that team. And to cover it up, the Siphonifer thing, cover it up. It's fine. I got a second chance. It's fine. It's fine. I didn't destroy the world, right? But it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
So, does anyone want me to read the main message again before we sort of proceed?
I think we've got it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we've got it.
Okay. So, you don't actually have to go far for this one because it is right here happening in headquarters. But there is a freight elevator that you have to go down. And as it clunks to a stop, you are in one of the seldomly frequented basement levels. And at the end of a long hallway, flickering incandescent lights illuminate a simple windowless door, and above the doorframe, stenciled onto the cold cinder block wall, are the words Auxiliary Archive 116. Marcus Finch, the assistant archivist, stands next to the door looking uncomfortable and out of place, wearing ill-fitting Division tactical field gear. And the book has a picture of him, if I can make it look like... there we go.
Yep.
And so this is a...
Kind of sort of see it, yeah.
Is a black young man, a little chunky, wearing a sweater vest and bow tie under a tactical vest. Got a walkie-talkie and a little notebook in his hand, and he sees you all coming, and he seems pretty nervous. He's kind of tense, but he's wringing his hands as you all approach. There is a moment of fraught eye contact with John Deere that he doesn't hold. It's kind of just like, okay, yep, all right. All right, everyone. So we've got a little bit of an unusual one. I mean, I guess I don't know that it's that unusual for you, but it's unusual that it's happening here in the headquarters and that I'm here. It turns out that I wouldn't normally be doing this because I'm not actually usually in the field. To be clear, I've completed my field certifications, but I've not.
Sir, just calm down. One step at a time. Let's stick to the important information.
All right. One note there is that you have just asked someone to follow your instructions, right? Yeah. So on that note, let's just have a brief refresh on the mechanic of darkness tokens, which, as a reminder, you earn those through roleplay. And it is up to you to decide when you believe you have met those qualifications
right.
and how many darkness tokens you take when you do. It should be between 2 and 4. And you should also try to play fair with yourself a little bit that if, for example, you have just role-played doing one of those things, you should give yourself some darkness tokens even if you have some already. But being aware that if you finish a move and still have more than 5 left, then we do a torn between. It's a mechanic that we will kind of feel out as we go. But just by and large, remember that when you are doing one of your gain darkness tokens when things, like, for example, as the Shade, John Deere gets darkness tokens when they ask someone to follow their instructions. And so when you do that, as we are still getting to know the game, please say when you feel like you have done that and you're taking some tokens.
It's a good idea to just have that part of your character sheet up.
Yeah.
Yeah, since it's an important mechanic.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm going to take 3 darkness tokens.
Okay. And so it's also a good idea to have some darkness tokens by the time you start needing to do moves and stuff. But in any case, Marcus, as you say that, gets a little bit of an impatient look, but then does take a deep breath and says, "Okay. What I was trying to say is that I am not usually doing field missions, but I am fully certified. But the reason that they have chosen me to be your contact for this mission is because I am somehow uniquely resistant to the parasitic library's memory siphoning effects. For whatever reason, it doesn't seem to work on me. There was an incident in my training that, oddly enough, I don't remember that. But since then, it would appear that I am somewhat resistant to having my memories taken, and the powers that be thought that meant that I would be a good choice for this mission. So here I am.
Could you tell us what you know about that? What you do remember about events surrounding what you do not remember?
I don't think that's really important at the moment. What we need to do is find out what the um
E-
find out what's going on now, not
Yeah.
before.
I will say that if I thought any of what I can remember about the thing that I don't remember, if I thought any of that was relevant, I would volunteer it. But yes, we kind of have an incipient crisis on our hands. So basically, I am going to be going in there with you, and I will be setting up a kind of a base camp that hopefully we can use as you explore the space in there, and I can hopefully act as kind of just like an Overwatch, I guess. You can, like, if you separate, you can come back and tell me. I don't. You all have done these missions before. This is my first time, so I apologize if I am doing it weird or something. But so, do you want to like go on in or what?
Of course, we want to go on in.
Yep, let's go on in.
Yes.
Go.
Don't be
All right.
don't be foolish.
Ah. That sounds like someone who is
Going for
reacting with-
arrogance. Yes. I think I should get 2
Yeah.
darkness tokens for that
Mhm.
little off thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Okie dokie. So he once so when he opens the door, you see initially a space that looks kind of like, the front entrance reception desk area of a relatively small library that really doesn't at all match the cinder block walls or utilitarian decor of the rest of the building here. And of course, John Deere knows directly, and anyone who's spent time in the archives here knows that, like, this is not where the archives are. And you also recognize that even though this initial space resembles the like entrance reception area of a relatively small library, you nonetheless have a sense that there's just enormous space. Like, if you were to go down that little hallway, who knows how long it might run. And it's just you get, this is you have all probably encountered the feeling of extra dimensional spaces before, and it's very, very transparent that you are passing into one. And in fact, even Marcus, as he crosses the threshold, goes, "Whoa." But once he also has a number of sort of plastic, those sturdy, hard-sided, like, equipment cases that you put electronic equipment in. That he's got a couple of those that he carries in, and as soon as you all are through, he takes out a special small case, opens it up, and in it is a doorstop that he uses to prop open the Auxiliary Archive 116 door. And then he presses a button on it, and it goes ka-chunk, but otherwise just continues to hold the door open. And then he starts setting up equipment, and he's got some odd little metal dishes on tripod stands connected with thick black cords to various readout monitors and a small generator. And so he starts kind of setting that up and says, "So I mean, I guess don't let me get in your way. If you have other questions for me, I don't know how much more help I can be, but I guess let me know what you want me to do."
I assume we all have like walkie-talkies or some other, means of communication?
I think you were not issued them previously, but he's got a bunch of equipment, and I think if you ask, then he says, "Oh, yeah, sure, yeah."
So, anything else you forgot to like give us that we were supposed to take in?
I mean, they gave me all of this stuff. I didn't know whether you were gonna want walkie-talkies or. I mean, they're here. I've also got one of these things, and he opens the thing that has a bunch of flashing lights on a screen on it. You want that?
Do you know what it is?
Uh,
You're the archivist.
yeah, I'm the archivist, not the radar technician.
So it's a radar. So you did know what it was.
I mean, it connects to this little dish thing. It's going to record stuff. I'm not the one who's going to interpret whatever prints out later.
We'll
That's fine.
maintain contact while we search.
So as you kind of move in through this reception area a little bit, you see that up on the wall, it does have a number of signs that kind of have like arrows pointing different ways. And the different areas that it lists there are the stacks, the lecture hall, the loft, the observatory, and the heart.
The heart.
That sounds promising.
Yeah.
Let's. Okay, archivist. You should know what's in your various locations. What's the heart?
Let me clarify something I think is probably important is that I am the archivist of the Division Archives, not this extra dimensional parasitic library that has attached itself to us like a leech.
Oh, we're now in. This
We're
is
now
this
within the-
is-
Oh, that would have been important information to tell us.
What?
You did fail to clarify.
Did you
that
guys
this
not
is-
get briefed?
it
I was
very
not
brief.
told that I needed to tell you what the parasitic library was. I thought you guys had been told that already. What?
The
No.
vision point was not made clear. You can watch your tone, librarian.
All right, so let's have a look at the heart, shall we? And
Of course.
Begin at the center and work our way outwards.
yep,
All right.
Do you, so I'll look at Panjorum and Mirren. You agree?
Yes, the heart would be the
John isn't waiting for
I-
consensus. He's just
Yeah,
But
Because,
trying to
well,
be a team
hearts.
player
Also,
here.
hearts are usually interesting things.
indeed. Though I will, from past experience, I will say, be careful with the library. It's temperamental at best.
Well, we'll see about that.
Well,
Slither
this
down the
library-
down the corridor.
All right.
This library will likely be more temperamental than your average.
And so a reminder too that at any point, if you feel like you are looking at or investigating the area that you are in and you want to like try to get clues, like, so, at any point you can say that's what you're doing and we can resolve that sort of thing. But it's, just reminding you that if you can do that at any time and you should just tell me when you think
Okay.
that's what you're doing. So I think as you are following the signs for the heart, you are certainly walking down a very long aisle, and you actually pass a couple of different areas that, where you would turn off to go to other locations. You also gradually get the sense that even though this seemed like one long straight hallway at a certain point, you realize that as you're walking quite a distance, it does seem actually as though it's kind of actually sort of slightly bending around to the left. You realize there's kind of a horizon way out there. And as you are going on, it also feels like you're maybe sloping downward a bit. But it's clear that the heart is not one of the more easily accessible areas. And you continue along that long hallway. There are periodically signs that just still say, heart this way. As you are making your way down this long hallway, increasingly the books start looking older. The shelves start looking more sort of worn, and the whole place starts looking not ancient, like dusty, like everything is still well maintained, but everything just increasingly seems as though it has been there for much longer, but is still being cared for.
Would any of the older books be at all familiar to Pandorum because of,
Well, a reminder, you are not in the Division archives. You are inside
I mean, writing on the books.
Oh, okay. Well, that's, I mean, it sounds like you are attempting to investigate.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I think that is an example of something that you would do. Grasp keys, which is a move. And let me pull up the quick reference of it. So when you grasp keys, you are going to describe how you are doing it, which could just be, I'm not using my powers at all. I'm literally just looking at the books, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But you are going to assign darkness tokens to it if you like, if you have some, and then you do a roll.
When I tried to ask about the memory thing,
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to do the darkness thing.
Okay, yeah, no, that's fine. So as a reminder, though, just so for everyone's kind of as we're learning the system, that is completely legit. Like if you feel like that was embodying one of your things and you wanted darkness tokens for it, that's totally right and that's fine. But let's try to say so when we do that.
Mm-hmm.
Just so we're so we're shouting out and we're getting used to doing it, right? That's fine. That's
I
fine.
took 2 darkness for that, and I'm going to use those for this.
Okay.
And then roll.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
All right, and it looks like you got a 9, which is a perfect
Yeah.
hit. Oops, and I'm
That
accidentally
darkness was
opening the wrong
well
program.
spent.
And so what that means is you uncover a key. The keeper will tell you what it is. And, oops, I have to. All right. So I think that what you find looking through is a small dusty journal is the one that like stands out to you.
As part of this, my thought on how I was doing this,
Okay.
looking through it and kind of letting my mind flow backwards through my past lives to
Okay, sure.
recognize any information.
Okay, what is that? Does that look like anything to anyone else?
To mundane eyes, no, but I think Mirren would almost see a stretching of his mental self back in a direction that is near kind of 4th dimensional stretching.
So the book that kind of stands out to you, almost as though like just something about it feels familiar. But when you open it, it appears to be in some kind of a coded script. You recognize characters that are from known languages, but it doesn't. It is not spelling out words that you know. It seems to be some kind of a code. But then, as you flip forward, you discover that it is literally still being written. You flip to towards the end, there's a bunch of blank pages, but then if you go to somewhere in the middle, you can see that this code is being etched out on the page as you watch it. There's no physical hand that you can see there, but it's just these little letters being written out as you watch.
This is interesting. I've seen this. I've seen the symbols that this language represents, but I don't recognize what it's saying, what's being written, and it is indeed being written. I
Okay.
what to make of this.
I
So
am
you
going to.
can read it, but you can't read it.
I can recognize that it's language, but I don't know what it's trying to say.
Hmm.
Oh, that's confusing. And I'm going to take some darkness for doubt or confusion.
As you're kind of gathered around looking at this journal and discussing it, you hear a voice from further on down this hallway. Just, hello and welcome to the library. May I help you? And as you look, there is what looks to be a man, perhaps in his early 40s, dark hair, glasses, tweed suit with the leather elbow patches, and he is carrying a small stack of 2 or 3 books in his hands, and he is just looking at you attentively. May I help you?
Oh. Yes, actually. Would you mind telling us how this ended up here?
What this are you referring to?
This library, we were under the impression we were entering a storage room of sorts.
Were you under that impression?
Yes, until we got here, and it became a library.
In my experience, those individuals who do find their way in here are generally aware that they're entering a library. I cannot claim to understand why you would not be aware of where you are entering. But as to how it came to be here, it is here because there is knowledge to be gained, of course.
Mm.
And who are you, and what is your relationship with this library?
Well, I'm the librarian, of course.
Is that your name?
I am the
Tell me your
librarian.
name.
I am the librarian.
Okay.
Can you tell me anything about this? And I'll hold up the journal.
He takes a look at it and flips and says, seems rather self-evident to me.
All right. Here, hand it over to me. This guy's not going to be any help. And I'm going to take the journal from him and
Do be
and
careful.
I won't. I know how to handle books, and I'm going to use. I have a power of machines powered by soul magic, and so I do some manipulations on my tablet, and a black silhouette scanner appears.
Mm-hmm.
And I feed the book into that, and it's going to translate, analyze the contents of the book, and tell me what the code means.
Okay, what does it? Is it gently scanning the book, or is it how?
I think we can roll to find out if it's gentle or not.
Oh, okay. Well, sure.
Right? Because if it like chews the book up,
Well,
it
so-
might be one of the consequences. Depending on how you
So
roll.
absolutely, and we can absolutely do that. Let me also just briefly offer though that all of you are very powerful. You have many powers, and so the things things that it would make sense in a straightforward way that your powers would be able to do, we won't necessarily always need to roll, right? So one of your other powers
Well,
is super strength, right? So if you wanted to pick up a couch, I wouldn't make you roll to pick up a
Right.
couch.
No. Yeah.
Right.
But I
Yeah.
figure we're doing another
Sure,
grasp
and
piece.
especially since he is, the librarian asked you to be careful. You're doing something that's not
Mm-hmm.
obvious, and it's maybe a little bit complex if you want it to be fast. So sure,
Yeah.
yeah. So let's have you. This would be so this, I guess, unleash the dark is this straightforward way here.
Oh, okay.
Well, or
I was
were
gonna
you-
grasp keys?
Okay, yeah. No, that works too, I suppose. Yeah, grasp keys.
Okay.
That makes sense because you're trying to. Yeah, I get it.
So I will spend 2 darkness tokens out of the 3 that I've got, and I go. Ooh!
Oh boy.
So yes, you have gotten 11, which is a disastrous success,
Oh boy.
and there we go. So on grasp keys, on an 11 plus, you uncover a key, but there's a significant complication, cost, or fallout, and the keeper will tell you what it is. And I think that what happens is that your machine creates a perfect digital duplicate up to and including when you look at each page, you can see the new code appearing on the page as it goes. So the document, the new code is still being added even to the digital copy that's been created, but it just annihilated the physical book in the process.
Okay.
And at this point, the librarian just says, "I'm afraid that I'm going to have to ask you to leave." And he steps forward and sort of just gives a very sort of like almost just like a casual gesture of just kind of like sort of like a shush shush, that sort of thing. But all of a sudden, this long corridor that you've been on, suddenly it feels vertical.
Okay.
And you are falling back the direction that you came.
All
And
of us?
I would like
The physical corridor now seems to be vertical. The librarian does not seem affected, so you are all falling away from him.
and I would like to try and stop time. So all right, so we stop falling.
Okay. So I think you can certainly you can slow yourselves down, but you're still falling slowly.
Okay, I'm gonna start beating my wings.
Well, I mean, so
this-
like before we
Oh.
jump to that. So I mean, because if you slow time or stop time, but and you can do that, then what?
Just basically, actually, all right, stop it and then reverse it back to where we are, so that we go back up to where the librarian was and are able to react to stop him from doing it.
Okay,
I
that
think
will
that'd be
take a roll.
power through
That will
darkness.
take a roll. That would definitely be an Unleash the Dark, because what you're trying to do is use your time to go back and actually stop him from doing what he just did, right?
Okay.
What did you think that was
I
going
was
to be?
thinking power through darkness.
I think that that's not necessary because
Oh,
Power
right.
Through Darkness is more like for extreme things. And if you were trying to do something that was purely related to the environmental threat, we might do that. But because what you're trying to do is go back and stop the librarian from doing what they did, that sounds more like when you unleash the dark within you to enforce your will on someone, physically,
Okay.
socially, or emotionally, you use
Okay.
Unleash the Dark.
Let's see. I'll spin 2, and I don't have anything else. Ooh. I
Okay.
missed.
So, reminder, because what you've got there, and you know what,
I-
honestly, this is something I should have mentioned with the 11, is that you can spend bond points to adjust your result up or down by 1 for each bond point you spend. So, for example, that 11, you could have spent a bond to make it a 10 instead, right?
Yeah, well, you know.
Sure, sure. There's no reason that you have to. Sometimes it's fun when when things go, you know. But for example, this is another one where you could spend a bond and make that 7 into an 8, right? Like if it was a 4, there wouldn't be very much.
I'd like to point out that the 11 plus I do uncover a key.
You do.
Mm.
I'll come back to that in a moment.
Okay,
You're so
all right.
good point in doing that. But I think we will resolve that once the immediate threat is
Okay.
passed.
Okay.
I'm going to spend my bond with the darkness because like this kind of thing again.
Okay. All right. Yeah, and so I think by spending that bond with what the darkness demands of you, there's an element of impatience in like,
Like-
you know, why do I have to deal with this stuff?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So what that will do then is, it means that you have turned it back into a perfect hit, and so you have rewound time that you are suddenly no longer falling. You're zooming back up. The corridor goes horizontal again. And what is it that you do that stops the librarian from just repeating the same action?
Basically, as he's starting to wait, starting a thing, I
I'm going to use my hair to, like,
Uh.
bind his.
Well, so
Oh,
you
part of part of what this is basically I I can choose to and
well, so yeah, I mean, I'm asking you to just like so your move, your result says that you stopped. Well, okay, yes, you choose two between get past their defenses and inflict a condition, get what you want from them, which is, I assumed what you wanted is for him to not just repeat the thing. So that's
perfect.
one of
And
them.
the other one,
Avoid reprisals, harm, or cost, gain the upper hand for now, expose a weakness or flaw, confuse them for some time.
I think I'm going to expose a weakness or flaw.
Okay, bearing in mind that because you didn't avoid reprisals, harm, or cost, I'm going to ask you to take a condition.
Okay.
And I think that this perhaps can reflect you know, that connection with the darkness, right?
Yeah. And do I just mark any of them?
Well,
Seems appropriate.
say which one you're marking.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna go with merciless.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So-
This time he doesn't care at this time.
So, so Millie, just because their move, David's
Right.
move, gets us to the move is not repeated, but then you can jump in.
Okay.
But
And then
what is the actual thing that happens that stops the librarian from just repeating the move?
Basically, he's he's knocked off his feet. He's knocked back, and
Okay.
Yeah.
What? So
so we appear back. We rewind back to where it is, and there's basically a wave of
okay.
force that just
Oh, okay. And so I think the expose a weakness or flaw that you see when that happens is that as he is knocked back, you see for a moment that his form, it sort of weirdly like riffles, like when you riffle the pages of a book. And so in the same way that a closed book, like you can draw a little picture on the edges of the pages and see it, but then in the individual page, you'd only see like a dot maybe. When he is knocked backward, you see his whole body kind of react like he is a drawing on the edges of pages like that. He sort of re-solidifies, but you can see that the weakness is that his physical form doesn't appear to be terribly enduring.
I'm going to step over to the downed librarian and
I'm going to only stop you just because Millie was trying to jump in a
okay,
moment
yeah,
early.
yeah.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, so I'm not, because with him being pushed back, I don't need to immediately
Okay, so I just
use my
wanted.
hair. But what I will do is kind of step over, like with my like not sitting down on him, straddling him, but like one foot on each side of like his hips or something like that. Look down, and Gran is like, "So what was that going to be, you little man?" And I'm trying to do the pettiness thing.
Oh, sure,
for
sure.
Darkness.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I like the strongest attempt at pettiness yet. Like, you are you're just being ridiculous here. You don't know what you've gotten yourself into. So I'll grab 2 tokens from that.
Okay. I think he reacts with just sort of kind of a stern, pouty, like sort of facial expression, and then he literally just like sort of disappears into a cloud of fluttering pages that themselves kind of just fade away after a few seconds. So now that he has seemed to disappear and you are not falling anymore, I think your scanner machine, John, pings that it got an update on the decryption process.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It reports that the text itself, the code, is not directly translatable into English per se, but that what it reflects is the knowledge that is currently being actively siphoned from Division.
Oh.
So as it's being written in there, it's basically being copied over and removed from something else,
okay.
and the code
So this is the
represents
mechanism
kind
by
of a
which it-
like it's kind of almost a machine language version.
Okay.
Because this parasitic library is essentially eating and digesting the information, and this is the new form it takes. So it could perhaps be translated back, but it is not like just letter for letter code.
So this is links to, I think, the last facet of what's being stolen. Needing to find out what's being stolen.
Well, so perhaps, but the key in this case, I would say, is the library transforms the information it siphons.
Okay.
Not just a theft, it's a transfiguration of that information into this new format.
how are the shelving or the stacks of books just like a traditional library, correct?
Here they look in this part, now that you've gone a long ways down this one corridor, they look much more like a really old-fashioned library.
Okay.
But I think as you are kind of collecting yourselves, absorbing that information, and reflecting that the librarian has seemed to just disappear, you hear from a long way down the corridor, you hear the hissing and rumbling of what sounds like a massive boiler furnace. But I think that is where we will call it a close for tonight's session. But I just realized that there was something that we should have done that we didn't do this time, which was each of you for every session should select a session impulse, which basically just reflects something that you're planning to try to do in that session, which means that you can get XP for it. So we'll try to remember to do that for next
Okay.
time. But otherwise, now we finish a session by going through the different your XP triggers, right? And so I think rather than having everybody read all of them, let's have everyone look at their own triggers and say if you feel like you did any of them and earn XP for it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, so we read the ones we think we got.
Yeah.
Okay, so my first one is: did you express your monstrous nature and/or express your humanity? I think I did a bit of that by reversing time and.
Yeah, I think I would say, first of all, it's your decision whether you believe you qualified. What I was going to say is, I think ordinarily I would normally think just using your powers wouldn't count, but I think the bit of kind of reflecting the impatience and perhaps doing your move a little bit more violently, and then taking a condition and it being related to like, impatience with this whole thing. I could see that. But again, it is all up to you to decide whether you believe it qualified. I'm just trying to kind of set the scale as the way I would think about it.
Yeah. And my last one is: did you uncover at least a key of the apocalypse or attempt to unlock Doom's door? I think I mean
You
I,
uncovered a key.
yeah,
You uncovered a
so
key for sure.
I do not mark ruin.
Right.
So that's mine.
All right.
Okay, yeah, and I don't mark ruin because of that, because
you
I also uncovered a key.
Yep.
It does seem kind of unfair that we started the mystery a little late,
Yeah.
and so there's not time really for everybody to have an opportunity.
Well, but that's okay.
But then again, a lot of the other members of this group are just happy to have some ruin.
Well, and I think
Yeah.
I think like one ruin, in our first session is not a big deal. It's like it's going to be when it accumulates over time.
Yeah, no, that's
Like
fine.
to
Yeah.
become a harbinger, you're going to have to accumulate a lot more ruin than one.
Yeah, then just one.
So I think I did express the humanity with the interaction with Jake. So I'm gonna
Marcus?
mark XP there. Marcus, yeah.
Marcus.
Mhm.
Marcus.
Okay.
I marked one experience.
All right.
Okay, I get one ruin because I did not uncover a key this time.
Yes, I think I get one as well.
Likewise.
Mm-hmm. And so,
Yeah.
and if anyone else, if you get XP, then you mark it down. I'm trying to remember exactly the rule for that. Let me open one of your sheets to just look at what that looks like on here. XP. Yeah, so you're going to start just marking, keeping track of the XP. But then I'm trying to remember how much you need to get in advance and that sort of thing.
Good question.
Hmm?
That's a good question. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Buck mentions it.
How much?
Yeah, so let's see. You say the book mentions it. You want to tell me where?
All right.
I'm
I
looking for the page.
It has on each play sheet. It
Okay.
has the experience track.
Yeah.
I
Okay. Well, so there is an advances. Okay. So yeah. I think. Yeah, so there is the XP advances track, but I'm just trying to make sure, like, is getting 1 XP enough to fill out one of those boxes, or do you have to fill out more XP to fill out one of the advances box? That's what I'm saying. Because I think, yeah, that's, okay, experience and advancement, 30. Okay. So, character marks experience whenever a move tells them to. You also opportunity to earn XP at the end of every session. When a character has earned 8 XP in total, they take an advance
Okay.
and reset
if
the
they-
XP to 0.
And if they get 5 ruin, they get a ruin advance.
Correct. Yeah, so that's the number. So in any case, everyone mark any XP and or ruin that seems appropriate there, and also you can note where that your impulse that is just under the XP track. That's where next time at the start of each session you choose one of those, and you can choose a different one every session, and it just represents another thing that you could potentially use as a trigger to get XP, but also is meant to just be something you're going to kind of focus on trying to make happen in that session.
Now, as a table, do we want to announce those at the beginning of the session? Or
I think it would be good to do that at least for a little bit, just if, just to kind of remember, so we're engaging with the mechanic.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So, and as far as, I think, we then just kind of, let's see, we did the end of session moves, and then the last bit in a session is to just kind of check in with your players and wind down, take notes, and go through everyone's stars and or wishes. And of course, we also have our green, yellow, red sheet that if anything new changes there that you want to put in there. So we can always take a look at that. But so does anyone have any stars and wishes? Also, as a group, tell me if you want stars and wishes to be a more structured thing, like where we go through and each person does a star, each person does a wish, or if you want it to just be if you think of one. I'm open to either.
I think if you think of one is probably the best. Just that way,
Yeah,
it's
I think
not so rigid.
Yeah.
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 Sure, that's fine. So, in the interest of that, does anyone have any stars they would like to offer for this session?
I really enjoyed seeing that little bit of Panjorum get a little monstrous there.
Yeah,
Little
me too.
librarian.
I do think I think it was fun how Lady Dana is like talked over the librarian. It's like little man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely like the rewind time and go whoop.
Yeah.
Uh,
When you understand what the powers of darkness are actually supposed to represent, you can have a lot more fun with it.
well, and again, it's designed to be very flexible and
Oh yeah.
and powerful, right? Mechanically, it's all just about flavor. Did someone draw this line on purpose?
That was on the previous screen. I don't know how it came out here.
Oh, because you're drawing the line to the facets.
Yeah.
You don't do that until you're ready to unlock the
Oh.
Doomstorm
Oh.
move.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know why it showed up on the other one either. Okay, and now it's did you
I
delete
deleted
it?
it.
Okay, yeah.
I deleted it.
All right, but yeah, so you add the lines when you draw Doomsdoor, or some of you have moves that can let you declare irrevocable truths. You would draw a line in those circumstances too. And we probably want to use a different color for those because, for example, if you do unlock Doomsdoor and you get a miss, that means all the lines that you connected should go away because those were the wrong answers, right? But if you declare an irrevocable truth, that line would stay.
Okay.
That's how that works.
Yeah.
I'll give a star for you all basically just saying, oh, the heart, huh? Let's just go right to the center of it. We don't need to check anything before that. We'll just head. That's probably where the answer is, right? I thought that was fun.
I mean, yeah, it's a creature that's siphoning off power. Might as well. Go
I
hard
did
and
call it
try
a
to
star.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, yeah, kind of subverting the whole completionist RPG
Yeah.
system.
Yeah, well,
There's
and
nothing in these other rooms.
I
Before I heard Heart, I was gonna say, let's go to the stacks.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I actually was under the impression that this was like, this was another library that the library was attached to. And
Yeah.
you can find division documents with voids in them.
Okay. Well, so what I did say is that when you went down to that door, that's not where the archives are.
Yeah, I
But yeah, it's fine.
understand that. Right?
That's all right. But I also just like that the group behavior seems to just reflect monsters that are kind of impatient with all of this stuff, which is kind of fun. Yeah, okay. So how about wishes? And remember that wishes are basically just something that you would like to see happen next session or in the future more broadly.
Well, I know one
Sure.
thing I wish is to, remember to actually call out darkness attempts because
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Well,
Hard
yeah,
to-
I think that's fine though. We're all learning the system, and I think calling them out is not a rule so much as I think it will be helpful for us as we learn
Yeah.
the system.
Mhm.
a little bit of the awkwardness kind of thing.
Yeah, well, we're learning
Yeah.
we're learning a new system, and it's totally ordinary.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm. Yo, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, I think for me, I'm interested in this librarian, but also what happened. Like, I'm very interested to see where this is going, but I also have something I'm gonna try next time because
Yeah,
it's something with the library I want to try.
Hmm.
Yeah, I want to. It's like I'm very interested to see like what that librarian creature is.
Hmm.
Because that looks like it could be an interesting new experience for me.
Well, I know what hearing about the boiler made Pandorum think. I want to blow it up.
Wait, I didn't hear what you said.
I want to blow it up.
Oh, okay.
Oh God!
Big bada boom.
Okay, before we close, I think
Mhm.
it's important. These backgrounds that we've gotten here, I made them, and I want
Yes.
to.
Yes, and you
I
should get a star for that, by the way. Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Yes, absolutely.
I will paste it on my little board that I keep for all my stars. I want to thank the photographers whose work went into making these boundaries, and that was mine has the work of Philip Mraz. Lady Dana has Jonas Ellert. Mirren has Callum Skelton, not Skeleton. Pandorum's uses a photograph from David Wiersbe, and Ningles uses one from Ryan Denton. And the first 4 were downloaded from Unsplash, and the last one came from Wikimedia Commons.
Yeah, the background that I've got at the moment was also from Unsplash from Johnny Clow.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And we used Hero Forge for the little profiles, the images of each of the characters. So,
Yes.
yeah, good call with the credits. So in the meantime, thank you everybody for listening and or watching, and we will be back next week for more Apocalypse Keys on so many levels.
So many levels, listeners.